Hey!
Hi!
Welcome back
To the Urban Schoolhouse, where school is cool.
So, today, what we're going to be talking about, Chels?
Today, we are basically just going to pick up where we left off talking about IEPs and 504s. If you watch our previous episode 18, my mom left off talking about 504 plans. We're just going to pick up and go into more detail with that at the start of the process. As a parent, some questions that you might want to go into the meeting prepared to ask, things like that. If you want to talk to your child about the fact that they have an IEP or 504, how to go about that. Mm-hmm. It's up to you, how to go about that. I've had parents that don't want their child to know they have an IEP. But then again, I work with elementary, so maybe once the kid is older, it's important for them to know. Yeah, and they can self-advocate if a teacher or whoever is being reluctant to provide them with their legally.
It could even be the school
required. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Okay. Well, hey everybody, welcome back. Like we said, we're going to be going over some things that we might have previously discussed, but also just some reminders that we want to reiterate here today. So, what is a 504? Section 504 is a law. It's the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. And basically, it's a federal civil rights law, similar to the one we were discussing for IEPs, IDEA, in our last episode. And it's put in place to stop discrimination against people with disabilities. So kids have access to 504s, and actually all people do. Okay, so the section that has to do with education is what we're going to be discussing.
Correct.
All right. So the basic premise is that the 504 it will individualize your students' accommodations in the classroom. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. So we'll go back over the process, which would include alerting the school counselor usually that a student has a disability that might be affecting their access to school, education, or programs. So with that in mind, you want to call the main office, and you definitely want to put it in writing, and it can be verbal, which Chelsea did say that in our last episode. So if you say to the principal, I would like a 504 or an IEP, then you can simply document that.
You want to start the process, so you can you can say that or say, I want my child to be fully evaluated.
Exactly. And then they have 10 days to do it. But in the 504 situation, it is not that they're being evaluated at all. Usually,
that's a key difference.
Yeah, that's a key difference, because most 504s come in through the doctor. Mm-hmm. Like there's a disability that's already known. Some don't. Some come through the teachers. The referrals. The referrals come through the teacher when they see a student may be dyslexic, or they see a student may be struggling with ADD.
ADHD.
Exactly. So it just depends on how it comes in. And then after that, within a reasonable period, that's what this law indicates, okay? Just a reasonable period of time.
Does that ever get problematic? Because everybody's definition of reasonable can be different.
True. In my practice, I look at a 30-day window as reasonable for me. Because as a parent, that would be reasonable for me. And as a school counselor, it's doable for me in a 30-day period. So why not?
So you just kind of set like days for yourself?
Yes. So once I get a notification of a referral, I give myself personally 30 days. Okay. And that's my advice to a parent. If you
that's what it is for evals too. 30 school days.
Yes. And I think that's reasonable. Yeah. That's why I use that date. And I suggest to parents to, after they go ahead and get the referral in or the request in, that they duly follow up after 30 days if they haven't heard from the school in terms of a meet.
And some people might think 30 days is a long time, but parents also remember, usually we're looking at multiple kids at the same time, especially in the beginning of the school year, because you might have new students that, especially like in my experience, I've had like in my only 2 years, a lot of new kindergartners, their parents want them evaluated like right away.
Yeah.
So that's been my experience. So like even right now, I have like 4 or 5 open evaluations I have to get done by May, because then it'll be 30 days.
Yeah.
So we're usually doing multiple children at the same time.
Exactly. And for me, with the 504 caseload, usually the caseload is much smaller because it's not a widely known law. A lot of people probably forego 504 plans within the educational system. That's why this conversation is so important.
Can we talk about something? Because I've seen a TikTok about this, where a parent said, a parent was talking to other parents on TikTok and was like, if your school is trying to give your child the 504, don't allow it. Make them get an IEP.
Why?
Because they feel like an IEP holds more weight than a 504. But I don't think... Well, first of all, both documents are legally binding documents.
Correct.
And that's what people are saying in the comments, number one. Number two, the difference is an IEP is like... You're changing the curriculum. That's special education.
Right.
Your child might not need special education.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? If the school isn't upholding a 504, that's the school's problem. But legally, they're supposed to.
Exactly.
So that's not you need a new document. And also...
Or a stronger document.
A stronger, quote, stronger document. Ethically and professionally, we have to uphold both.
Exactly.
So don't think like one holds more weight, I guess, than the other. I think it's very interesting when parents say that, because I've had parents sit in meetings and cry because their child's in special education.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see parents wanting their child to be classified special ed, and then I have parents
who don't.
Yeah.
It's always that. It's a struggle, and everyone sees special education or 504s in a different way. But one thing parents have to know is that we're here to empower them.
Yeah.
So
and we're not going to do something that the child does not need.
And not only that, you get a copy of your rights.
Yes.
Okay.
They're called procedural
and you
safeguards.
Procedural safeguards. That's right. And you should read them because you sign stating that you have them and that you understand them. And if you don't understand them, you should sit there and ask them to go over them with you, and they must. And they must do that. And so if you think you need a stronger plan, you don't. You might need to file a claim. There is the safeguards and procedural, and then there's a point person at the school district that you can file a complaint with.
Right. So if a school was not taking a 504 seriously, that's not that's just them personally. But
Correct.
Professionally and ethically, they both should be upheld with fidelity.
Exactly.
At all times.
So that's IDEA and the Section 504 law, both of them.
And fidelity means like you're doing it like
at all times.
At all times. Yeah.
Exactly. So, what as a parent I would bring to an actual 504 meeting is, my students, school records, past test scores, transcripts, report cards, discipline records, attendance records. And it's not because you're trying to enforce anything as a parent. What you're trying to do is contribute to the big picture, the overall issues that bring the student to needing a 504. So, the disability must interfere with the child's ability to learn in a general education classroom. And so as a parent, you need to think about what that disability would cause a problem. What from that disability would cause a problem inside the classroom. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if, for example, if you have asthma, and that's something that we want a Section 504 for because it could interfere with your schooling.
Or if you need snacks throughout the day.
Exactly, or anything. Yeah. So if you have asthma and I don't want you to be in the gym overexerting yourself, then one accommodation might be because that can interfere with your learning in the gym setting. That you can have your inhaler, your teacher needs to know a plan of action for
Any
you.
teacher you have needs to know about this plan.
Exactly.
The gym teacher, the art teacher, music teacher, the bus driver.
And the main office.
The main office.
So, and that is the point of us advocating for the parents, because we see, I'll speak for myself and you can chime in, but for me, I know that parents know, first of all, parents are the expert on their child. You know what is going on with your child before a school will ever know. So the things that hold your student back or your child back from their education, those are the things you need to bring up to the school. And many times parents don't take that initiative to come into the office at the beginning of the enrollment and say, my student has this diabetes, my student has this asthma, my student has this ADD, my student is nonverbal, or what have you. My student has a hearing aid. Anything of that nature, you need to have a conversation in the office with the powers that be. Do not just drop your child off at a new school knowing your child has issues and they might suffer consequences because the people around them don't know.
Facts. Yeah, my coworker, my speech therapist that I work with, she deals with that a lot. And, some of the kids that she has, she realized, oh, they need hearing aids.
Exactly.
Oh, this is why, their speech is coming out like this is why. And then, again, parents have refused to get that looked at, and that's their right. But it's like, things would go smoother if we knew things up front.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also talk to your students, talk to your child about their classroom experiences. Talk to them about what's the hardest subject, what's the easiest subject.
Their day.
Exactly.
Talk about their day.
What answers did you get right today? What answers did you get wrong today? Figure out their weaknesses. Figure out their strengths. So when you go into the meeting, not only you, but the student also is empowered with the information in order to deliver that at the meeting so that the advocacy can be there. So that you can bring the child's issues up in a meaningful way so that the accommodations that are put in place will support the direct problems that the student is experiencing inside the classroom.
And talk to their teachers. I don't know, hot take, but I feel like if you're having a 504 IEP meeting, that shouldn't be the first time you're talking to their teacher.
Exactly. Unless you just moved into a new school,
yeah,
or unless the semesters have changed.
Yeah. Yes, and a lot of schools have meet the teacher.
Yes, and parent-teacher conferences. And honestly, a lot of times this stuff comes out in parent-teacher conferences where if a student is new to a school and they had a 504 at their former school, they might mention it in a parent-teacher conversation. And the teacher may bring it to me like, oh, I think this student has a 504 or an IEP, and we didn't know it, So that comes up too. So communication is key.
Communication is key. And most schools use different apps or websites to communicate with parents. Now teachers can text parents on apps.
I think parents get kind of sick of that stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
So another thing to discuss beforehand as a parent with a student before the meeting is academic and behavior issues. I know that, or attendance. I know that these may be topics that people do not want to, but these are the things we need. These are the cores. And that's why we look at them as that, because when we're inside the classroom, those factors key into kids not getting schoolwork, not understanding the work. So if you have issues with attendance issues, that could be caused because of an illness.
Yeah.
That needs to be discussed. If you have multiple sclerosis or something that could have you at home
for long distance,
for long extended periods of time, then I think that those are things that need to be discussed. Like, how many days of school can your kid feasibly make?
But if it gets to that point, then they still have to have access to their curriculum wherever they are. That's part of the LRE, least restrictive environment continuum. It goes all the way up to children in prison and children in jail and FAPE. No matter where a child is at, hospital, jail, wherever, home.
Education is required.
Education is required. They still need to have access to the curriculum. Now, they're going to be there to provide it, whether it be Google Meet, Zoom, wherever, but it's up to the parent and the child to actually show up. Because I've heard of teachers, show up online to teach a student,
And
and they're not there.
It happens often.
Well,
it happens very
as
often.
long as they.
But the teacher is there, so
they're there.
That's their job, and the parent's job is to show up. Also, even though we cannot require a parent to do a specific thing in a 504, it would be great if parents did distribute the medications as prescribed by the doctors. We've run into a lot of parents who don't give the meds for the ADD. For whatever reason, the student doesn't like them, they can't afford them, they don't have them.
What I hear is that the parents don't want their personality to change. Like, they don't want to see their child change.
There are a myriad of reasons.
I've heard that a lot.
But the one thing is, it's kind of like a do your part thing. You know, like, if you do your part, we can do our part. And I know, in my personal opinion, if you had an illness of any kind and I was able to administer to you something to alleviate, help, or assist you, if you have a cold, I'm going to give you something to help you breathe. If you are suffering in pain, I'm going to try to give you something to help ease your pain. So if your child is suffering in a classroom and you can give something to help alleviate that suffrage, the embarrassment, and the, sometimes just a fallout, not only for your child, but everyone involved, then why wouldn't you?
And not only that, but what I've seen a lot in my experience so far is the parents are giving the child the medication, but by the time it's like 11 o'clock, lunchtime, it wears off. So then, they back on 100.
Well, that's where 100,000. That's where the school nurse or secretary or whoever administers drugs, you get a medication form.
Are they supposed to have it twice a day?
I mean, whatever the prescription is, if they're missing a dosage while they're in school, they don't have to. Yeah. Someone at the school can administer the drug. It just needs to be done with a form.
And I've had students
filled out by the doctor.
And I've had students medication make them sleepy, and they sleep all day long during school. And I've had a lot of kids that medication changes, so they're just all out of sorts.
And not
all
only
day
that,
long.
the meds take a long time to get in the system, right? So sometimes you're giving a child a med, and it doesn't even really take effect until 30 days after they start.
And they might have to eat before, it's a lot. But I agree. I think, again, I don't have children, but I think with what I know about mental health and medication and my experience, I'm team meds. I'm team medication. Like, I'm team medication. Again, like,
and don't be mad at us.
I'm team.
It's a controversial
this is
subject.
just me, but I think just from what I've seen and what I know from my education, like
your own education,
my own education, team meds. If they work, they work. Like, and that's okay. I think we're getting, especially the Black community, I think we're leaning more towards normalizing medication for a plethora of different things. Not even just, just
like going to therapy.
Yeah. I think that's becoming a little bit more normalized anyway. It's not as taboo. I mean, it's there to help you. Everybody's brain is different. Our brains are wired different. Some people might need a little extra boost.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
So if the behavior is a problem within the classroom, mom, dad, likely you already know that. And so be prepared to discuss things that work at home. Okay, so
also your child might be different at school than they are at home.
They likely are different at school than they are at home.
They're two completely different environments
with two different types of
restrictions.
Restrictions, exactly. Dynamics.
Yeah, it's a whole different culture than being at home.
And they have to wait their turn at school, stand in line at school,
all the attention is not on them,
right? And they're not number one. They're all number one, and it's 30 of them.
Or they might not get something. Like the other day, we were giving out awards for Reading Month, and this one kid was crying
because March is Reading
Month, and this one kid was crying because he didn't get a reward. And the teacher was like, "Well, you have to do the things to win the things. You weren't reading, so you didn't get recognized."
Yeah, I don't come from the school of everyone gets a trophy, but I mean, hey, I don't know. Everybody is different.
Yeah, but I mean that's just facts.
I'm laughing. I'm not competitive either. You know what I
No,
mean?
but again, it's just like if you didn't do what you're supposed to do.
It's just a learning thing. You have to learn how to win and learn how to lose, right?
School, yeah, but that's what school is for.
Absolutely.
School is to teach you the world doesn't revolve around you.
Exactly. So then talk to your kid like, we know you have these behaviors. You don't sit still. You make noises. You do these things. What would help you? Like, tell your kid to tell you what would help them. Some kids are helped by having headphones on. Some kids are helped by sitting at the calming corner in their classrooms. Some kids are helped by doing their work right outside the classroom door.
Yeah, go into a quieter room.
Or sitting right in front of the teacher, which preferential treatment is seating. I'm sorry, not treatment. Preferential seating is a...
That's what I got, but I didn't have a 504.
Well, it's a great accommodation,
It
especially
is.
if your
Well,
child is visually impaired.
My teachers were just they're teachers, you know, like they know, and they could tell that I cannot see.
And some
from where I was
teachers are
at.
going to provide accommodations to kids no matter
Without
if
it,
there is
yeah.
a plan in place. Please understand that. Some teachers see the need and they just fulfill it.
Yes.
They don't sit there and wait for an IEP or a 504 plan. They literally just do the
it.
work.
Yeah.
And some teachers, even with the IEP or a 504 in place, refuse to implement the accommodations.
Well, let's talk about that. Well, let's talk about that.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Give us some.
Give us some.
Because I'm going to let you do it.
Oh, if they refuse to implement.
This is after only 1 year of experience in public education. She's about to tell you this. But I'll tell you.
If they refuse.
Yeah, I mean, the way they refuse, how they refuse.
They just don't do it. They just don't do it. And again, I think with elementary, I haven't had an experience where a teacher has refused to implement. Well, I'll take that back, but I'm gonna shut up. Anyway. So, but, that was my train of thought. I think
Refusals to implement accommodation.
I have had that with IEPs, I guess, but if I have a 4, I have not had that. I think my job specifically is really good at making sure things are implemented, and like how you said, like we just kind of automatically, like if a kid has IEP 504, or if they don't, if we see that they're obviously dysregulated, they can come into my office, they can go on a walk, you know, like the older 3rd, 4th, 5th graders, teachers would just be like, hey, take a lap, take 2 laps, and then come back. You know what I mean? Like, they do that anyway. I feel like with all kids now, because all kids seem to be just dysregulated nowadays. But, so I feel like they just kind of do that automatically. I think they're very good at it. I really appreciate my colleagues because they don't rope me into every single situation as a social worker. Like, they actually do things themselves too.
Exactly.
Which I appreciate. Like, it's not all just put on me.
It's a must they do because it's a team effort. Okay, so
but if your child, this is what I want to say. Usually in elementary, the child does not know that they have those accommodations,
but sometimes they do.
I have not had that experience where they do know, but they might.
Yes, I'll tell you an experience.
Yeah, but in my experience, I've never had that. Or like I've had a kid come into our meeting, but they don't know what we're meeting for. You know what I mean?
Some kids know. I feel like it depends on the disability. Like if your kid has diabetes and they're coming in for a 504 for their diabetes, which they can have.
Yeah.
They already know they have diabetes. Like sometimes if they have been diagnosed with ADD and they take medication for it, they already know they take it. And they'll tell you, like, I didn't take it today.
I think in my experience, because all of my kids, their eligibilities are all like autism or they're cognitively impaired, so they don't really have the wherewithal to understand what we're meeting for. But if it's more of a
physical disability, they certainly know. You know, again, you can get a 504 for a broken leg. Of course you know your leg is broken or you are in a wheelchair, okay? So it's just so many different ways. The disabilities are vast. That's how come as a parent you have to understand your rights and not be denied.
Go to that office. Go to that school board office.
Especially if you think that these accommodations are not being
You know what though? It wasn't my student, but there was this girl, she had some services in her IEP that she wasn't given. Because for IEP, you have service times, right? So mine can say you're going to receive social work services 20 to 30 minutes 2 to 4 times a month. So 2 is my minimum that I have to do for that month, right? So this girl had that for a service. She was not getting it, and she knew she wasn't getting it because she knew she had an IEP.
Right.
But she was a 4th or 5th grader, and so she will walk past the office every day to see if that service provider was there.
Exactly.
She was every day, and she would go back and tell her mom,
and she
I didn't get seen today.
And
I didn't get seen today.
And should. And I know I would be that mom asking you, did you see that lady today? Did that lady call you down to her office today? And that's how you have to be as a parent, because that's your job.
And that mom made it known.
And should. That's your legal right. And should. And if they're not doing it, then you have the right to file a complaint, and you can inquire how to do it, and they can help you do it. I'm not trying to be facetious. It's not like I am not against education, because I love education.
I'm all for educators,
but we're there to educate kids.
I'm all for educators, but to me, kids come first, and they should always come first.
That's right. Not the
kids,
teachers come first.
And kids deserve their services and they deserve their FAPE and their LRE at all times.
What does FAPE mean? Can we remind our audience?
Free appropriate public education.
Free appropriate public education, FAPE. Awesome. Go in the office and say that word, and they'll sit you down and help you immediately.
But this is violating my child's FAPE. They don't want to hear that.
No, they don't want to hear that at all. Because
administrator
all of this is free.
wants
you
to hear that.
You shouldn't have to pay for any of this.
Yeah.
All of this is free. This is governmental. This is federal. And also, the last thing on checks and balances, because we're not going in on teachers, but we want to empower our parents in the urban community, because we are the Urban Schoolhouse, where school is cool. So if you want to go ahead and really know what's going on, ask your teachers, ask the person who writes your 504 plan to have the teachers to tally when they are doing the services for your child. And
like me, I document all that. I keep it all for myself. And sometimes so with my nonverbal kiddos, I send home parent little notes so they know what I worked with their child, what I did with their child. Because their child cannot verbalize what happened at school. They can't say, what's going on. So it's for me and it's for them. I document everything twice. I do it in the computer in our little MyStar, and then I have my own binders.
And this is why parents should.
Yeah,
because they are at the school, so you should too at the house.
Yeah, so I have both sets, and then I do send home parent notes. But hey, you worked on this today. If you have any questions, and my contact information is at the bottom. So if they ever wanted to, chat, they're free to do so. I don't mind talking to parents because I know everything I'm doing is professional, ethical. So I really never cared.
Exactly.
Because I can stand behind everything that I've done.
Exactly. And you should be able to. And that's why I'm empowering these parents to ask the teachers, can I see your documentation of the times that you've administered this accommodation to my student or my child? Because that is not an absurd question, and you have every right to ask.
Yeah.
If they can't produce that, then they haven't done it, because in our field, if it's not documented,
it ain't happening.
It didn't happen. So that's just that. Like I said, I don't want to beat up on teachers, but we have to empower our parents, and some teachers are always going to document, and some teachers never going to document.
And I think it's about just holding, everybody accountable. Like I said, this is federal. Like, this is federal. You don't want to get caught up in this.
You don't. And if you have an upper level child that switches classes in the middle of the school year at a semester, then you have to ensure that the second semester's teachers receive the 504 plan. If they're going to be dropping off a class, because it's a semester-long class, not a year-long class, you have to be conscientious of that as well. You have to make sure all teachers have the plan every year, every semester, or every quarter.
And we all know this, like teachers, social workers, speech therapists, whatever. We are all licensed professionals. We all know this. We all know this.
And they hoping that you don't. I hate to say that.
But clock it, though. And most of the time, parents don't.
And I see it every day.
And it's and also because it's so much jargon.
It's not even for you to know, but unless you need to know. And that's why we're here. And that's why we're saying,
it's so much jargon and so many acronyms. It's like we're talking in code.
Exactly. That's how come I said what's FAPE, because we really want you to know it's FAP as in Paul E, and go in there and say that your child has a right to FAPE. And that's real.
And they're gonna look shocked. Watch.
Exactly.
But they be like, wait.
But Google that thing first, girl. Don't just go. Just Google that thing one more time before you go. Okay. And then also when you get there, ask about homework help. We're going to pivot a little bit because I want you in that meeting asking about homework help. What type of programs the school can either offer to you or lead you to in the community. It could be a community center. It could be a church. It could be Big Brother, Big Sister. It could be YMCA. A lot of different organizations.
And summer school.
Yes. Give out, homework help. And I know in DPS here where we are in the city, they have a homework hotline. Well, they did. I don't know if they still do, but they probably do because why not? And if your child is on a 504 or IEP and they're doing great in school, hey, you don't have to really worry about this. But if your child is continuing to struggle with these plans, keep your mind thinking about how you can help your child because children change, classes change, dynamics change, teachers change. They might have one teacher in the beginning of the school year and then that teacher might get sick and leave. And then here come a whole nother teacher. Now you need to familiarize yourself with that new teacher and make sure that your teacher knows your child. And this is another thing. Can I spill a little tea?
Yeah.
Okay, because I want parents to know.
Boston Tea Party.
I'm just trying to say is that the more the teacher knows you, mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, guardian, the more they're going to pour into your child. Agree?
Boom. Yeah. Yeah. Because even when we talk about parents, we'll say, "Oh, they're very involved in the community. They're very
involved. They're very involved."
Yeah. That's what they say.
That is what they say. Mom's usually coming up here on.
Yeah. Mom will come up here.
You'll see mom. You'll see dad. That's how you want to be, because not to scare. You don't go up there acting like Rambo, Mom. You don't have to go up there acting like the Incredible Hulk. Sis.
Oh, we know who the active parents are. We know who the active parents are. Just go there
and let them see your face. Let them know your name. Let them know that you are in full communication with your child. And that you are on top of the educational needs of your child. And you are all about making sure that they're implemented. And that's pretty much it. Once they know that you're invested, then they become automatically invested if they weren't. And some teachers are. Don't get me wrong. Some teachers are way more invested than parents. Clock that T.
Clock that.
But honestly, as a parent, that's your job.
Yeah, I agree. Because as a therapist, as a social worker, I don't work harder than my patient, client, whatever you want to say.
And as I get into older grades, I don't work harder than my students. Yeah. If my students say, I don't care about my grades, I don't care about my work, and then I say that, and I feel that same vibe from the parent too, it just makes me stand down. I'm getting old.
I'm very much like, I'll take it to the water,
but I can't make you drink it. And that's basically how it goes.
And then even when I tell my mom now, like, I emailed this parent, and my mom's like, they ain't gonna answer. I'm like, that's not the point.
Right.
Just they can't go back and say I didn't email them.
Exactly. And they're waiting to say that you didn't email them. Because that's the kind of stuff that teachers use against parents. They never come to parent-teacher conference. They never come into school. I don't know who they are. They never answer my calls. Right?
The phone disconnected. The voice ain't.
We don't even have your number.
The phone ain't even ring.
Oh, please, mom, dad.
The phone ain't even ring.
Guardian, grandma, grandpa. If you change your phone number, will you please tell the school?
Let the people know.
If you move, please tell us, because sometimes the children really need your assistance. All right, and we do too. So we are. I think we covered everything.
504s, yes.
Yes.
See,
what do we want the people to know?
We want the people to follow us on social media.
Yes.
Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at the Urban Schoolhouse Podcast.
The Urban Schoolhouse Podcast. Not the, though. Just Urban Schoolhouse Podcast. You don't have to type the. All right? And what are we doing next?
One of my new favorite topics I am so passionate about. April is Autism Awareness Month.
Woo! Autism Speaks.
Yes. So I'm very excited to be talking about that, specifically with ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder, in the Black community and how that relates to schools. So that will be our next episode.
I think that's gonna be so good and informative for our listeners?
Yes, I'm very
So
excited.
spread it around. Spread us around. We want to get to all the urban schoolhouses, right?
Yes.
All right. So we will see you next time on the Urban Schoolhouse where
School
school
is
is
cool.
cool.